LinkedIn is up.
Broadcast is live.
Here Broadcast is live. Woo! So
it's not Saturday night, people. It's
I know, right? I know, right? It is time to have some fun this week. Welcome, world, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and anybody else that's out there listening in the stratospheres. It is good to be with you once again. And just like last week, I know some pretty awesome people. I'm connected to some pretty awesome human beings. And today I get the pleasure of introducing you all in my world, Ginger Johnson, the connector.
So good to be here with you, brother. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
It's great. We've been talking about doing something for a while, and
we have.
This is the something. So let's, here we go. Concept, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So in my world, I love, and me and you early on, we talked about connection and the power of connection. And I had this saying in that you helped me out with a little bit. And I said, you know what, in the space I'm in, it's not about competition, but collaboration. Right. And I wholeheartedly, in the season of life I was in, I wholeheartedly felt that, particularly from the perspective of me and how I was engaging and encountering and experiencing people. But you were like, no, my friend, it's about cooperation. And I was like, she was like, competition is good. But it was, why did you say it that way? Because I want you to explain in your words, because I try to give it its due diligence, but I'm like, if I got the woman herself on, why not drop those nuggets? Drop the nuggets on you.
All right. Well, you got a bunch of nuggets there too. I know you got 5 of them there. They're just like, they're gold. They're right down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you and I connect, I love the story of our connection, and it's to use your phrase, you friend hard, Lawrence, and I'm the same way. So when you find those people who you really connect with in a truly unique way, that to me is cooperation. When you work together with other people in some way, shape, or form, that can be cooperation. When you take a look at how you support each other and what you're doing so we can all grow and learn and rise, that's cooperation. You're so right. I absolutely believe in competition, because without competition, then it's just this mediocre field of whatever. Is that good enough for you? I know it's not good enough for you, Lawrence. Boss does not accept anything less than striving to be your best. Mm-hmm. And so that cooperation is you and me sharing, which is collectively exponentially more impactful than a solo, than thinking, oh, I'm feeling threatened by that other person. Look, there's always room for one more good one. So putting your forces together, like you and I have talked about now and are doing now, that's cooperation, and it can work for everyone.
Yeah. And it is funny because even in that conversation in and of itself, when we talk about that competition, right, the story for me comes back, high school football. High school football, being on a team of what I thought ballers. We were ballers from freshman year to senior year. And I just recall my buddy BJ. BJ, without a doubt, he was the man child that was benching 400 pounds out the womb, I believe. And so as it pertained to just leveling up, as it pertains to strength training, to endurance, and those other things, like there were those teammates who you were like, okay, I gotta at least keep up, because I don't want to be the weak link in the armor. And so that was me as a member of that team owning up to where I'm at, right? And saying, you know what, I'm not settling for what I believe is good, but seeking awareness from the tribe of what does better look like, right? It's the good, better, best. Right. And on the road to getting there, okay, it's not me looking in, but who am I observing? Who's a part of my tribe? Who's a part of my community that I know will help me raise my lid? And that all comes to not only the cooperation, but the awareness of where you are. And doing that self-evaluation is crucial. It's ugly in the beginning, and it can be ugly throughout, but it's so necessary.
So true, Lawrence. It's like when we walk into a room and we're going somewhere, we think we should do the thing, we think we need to network. Well, we don't use the N word around here of any way, shape, or form, networking in this case. We walk in, or we know we're going to walk into that room, and we have this moment of kind of emotional constriction of like, oh, why am I feeling this way? Now, when you're aware of your feelings, when you acknowledge your feelings, and then when you think, okay, just like you said, you're not looking in, you need to participate. That puts the I in cooperation. That puts the I in team, because all of a sudden you become part of the team. Even though, like with your ballers, your football team, you are, of course, an independent person, and the team is so much stronger when you have the awareness to be strong yourself. When you're 400 bench pressing 400 pounds, when that awareness is not just self-focused, it's also group acknowledged, right? That like, oh my gosh, that guy, he can probably throw a small car down the road. So where do we use that to benefit, instead of thinking, oh, well, I'm never going to be as strong as BJ, I'm never going to bench press? Like, no. Connect with that boss part of you and think, that's actually a compliment. That's a group strength. That's why we use the cooperation. You and I both know this. And that's how we put I in team, because you still need to fly solo. You still need to be strong by yourself. And then you bring that strength to the group, and exponentially, again, the group gets stronger.
And I love that. And you went over it really quick, but you know us. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it a couple seconds back. I'm gonna take it a couple seconds back to you saying getting healthy, getting whole yourself. This is a relationship. This isn't just about connection. And if you're hurt people. And when you're a hurt person trying to connect, you bring those wounds. Again, not saying hide them, bring your whole self, but that awareness of what's harmed you, what's hurt you, whether it was work, whether it was a former boss, whether it was a relationship, whatever it was, own it, acknowledge it, but help the other person you're desiring to connect with, help them spot that wound as well, because you don't want to have the residual effects of all the stuff that's happened to you, and you just like verbally vomit on people, and they're like, whoa, time out, we just met. Again, it's like the first date. It's like, don't do it at the table. Don't do it at the table. Don't list your faux pas in relationships. Don't do that on the first date. Just kind of let it happen over time. But if there are some wounds, if there are some scars, connect in a very authentic way, but kind of scale it. Kind of scale it at the beginning for people. But again, you need to be aware first, because I can recall me out of the military, right? And me and you both love telling stories. Me out of the military, the friending hard was an expectation that I had for people that I pulled into community. And what I didn't figure out was whether or not they signed up for that level of commitment. And so immediately upon meeting me, I assumed everybody was at my level of commitment. And when they started ghosting me, I was like, what had happened? I'm giving my all and nobody's reciprocating. And so I thought, I was like, it must be me. Something's wrong with me. It was like, no, I just wasn't aware of how people were experiencing me. And so once I began to understand why and how people were experiencing me, then I began to, all right, put things that I wouldn't apologize for, right? I'll friend hard in context. I wasn't friending in the right context. And so once I put some bones around that, it became very, very clear to me who and what my tribe would look like. Take yourself off mute.
There you go. It's like when I like what you just said. That's so true. We make our own assumptions. And when we make assumptions, our awareness, it's like when assumption rise, awareness goes down. And so we need to find some equilibrium. Like my fine husband and I talk about once in a while, he'll make an assumption when we're talking on something that seems casual, and I'll question that in a respectful way. I'm like, well, why do you think that? That sounds like you're making an assumption. So our awareness needs to kick in when our assumptions show up. and say, oh, okay, yeah, I am going to friend hard. So what is the awareness around these other people? What is awareness around my expectation? How do I bring my best and fullest self? Like, never apologize for yourself. Never not be you. Like, bring it full. And you wouldn't go to the football game. You wouldn't go to the meeting, the proposal, the whatever halfway. Have that awareness that, oh, this is who I am. And it can seem too much. I get that once in a while, believe it or not. I get people, I remember back in the day when I was growing up and my mom and I would go shopping to the Hallmark store once in a while. And my mom should have bought stock in Hallmark, but we would go to the Hallmark store, big card letter writers to this day. And I'd be reading the cards while mom was picking out whatever she wanted. And I would just laugh out loud. I have a very loud laugh. It's very robust. And I would get people that would peek around the fixtures, and sometimes they would scowl. But most of the time, they'd look and they'd laugh or they'd comment. So being aware, like, I'm not going to stop laughing because that's the best kind of contagion. Yet, like you said, in context, that cognizance of who else is around and how might that impact somebody without overanalyzing. Let's be clear. We're not talking about analysis by paralysis by analysis. We're not talking about change your modus operandus. We're talking about awareness, which helps you craft the, not appropriate, I don't like that word, the suitable or the fitting moment for whoever else is engaged.
Yeah. And it makes me think about, as we talk about, our coaching clients and we just describe where people show up in varying places in their lives, right? Because again, COVID in this environment, this normal season that we've all shifted into, right? And again, no new normals, no next normal. Right. This is normal. Right. This is just our current normal.
Reality.
Right? Current reality has presented its own level of opportunities. And as coaches, helping clients to see the opportunity and the potential and the next step, right? In the midst of what we perceive to be tragedy. But one thing that as I began to be intentional from a coaching standpoint about connection, I had to ask myself a couple questions. The first question was who I wanted to be connected to. And what was true for me, the reason why I don't want competition, but collaboration was a true statement for me, came from the fact that I am not afraid of people in the same industry as me.
Right.
Not afraid, because I understood early on as a military officer that orders that came out of my mouth sound different than orders that come out of Ginger's mouth.
True.
Even though they're the exact same orders, the filter that people use, they're different based on the person delivering the message. And so because I understood that, I knew that I need people on my team that actually are from the same thought. And again, not same in the way that we deliver, but the understanding, the context, the perception of a thing. And so if I surround myself with people like that, then when we go into a room together and we have a message and we begin to play tennis with each other and hit the balls over the net going back and forth, people are like, oh my goodness. And so people will hear it, love it when I hit it. But then when Ginger hits it, a whole nother set of people will hear it, love it, and absorb it. And so if you're not surrounding yourself with people who connect the dots with you and collaborate with you and are in competition with you to raise your lid, then you're missing an opportunity to impact at a greater level. And I love what Kristen said. You have to remove the scarcity thinking. And that's where a lot of it comes from, is people don't believe there's enough. And so like, I got to hoard my little bubble. And like, guess what? Your bubble is really, really little. So I didn't want any of it. Like, that market share is taken. Like, you can have it. Right. And if that's how you've been keeping it, by helping people understand that there's not enough, then go ahead, by all means, keep that. And so what are some coaching questions or some coaching things that you do to help deliver this message home for people?
So good. So there's a tool. It's not even a tool. It's a practice. And it comes to mind today because I think of my very first coach. His name is Mike, and he's still around. Mike, I love you, man. He's who I dedicated my second book to, The Connectivity Canon. And he taught me a great practice that fits with cooperation and awareness. And awareness, by the way, is also huge in mindset. So you're right. We're not looking for people who think the same. We're looking for people who have an equally elevated awareness / mindset. The practice is this. Every day, write down an answer for yourself, respond for yourself, these 3 starters. I am, I do, because. When you were just explaining and telling that story, Lawrence, you talked about blah, 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 because blah, 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 blah. We need to, being aware is understanding the why, and because explains part of the why. Now make sure you go thoroughly into your why, because why is our core. It's our, like I say, it's our head, our heart, and our guts all together driving us in this current reality of every single day. It doesn't matter what the exterior atmosphere is like. It doesn't matter what the environment is like. What matters is it starts in here, and then you can handle any current reality that comes your way. So try this. In fact, I'd suggest you try it at least till our next week's show. This will be every week at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. I am, I do, because. Write it in something simple like a journal, and don't look at your previous entries. That's part of the key of it too, Lawrence, because when we read where we've been, that crafts what we think in the moment. No. It's fresh landscape every day. I am, I do, because. Do that. That puts the I of yourself into the cooperation of your world as you go into it. So that, I feel like that's a biggie. And so I'm going to stick with 1 today. What about you, Lawrence? What do you got? What's your coaching lesson that you want to share today?
Yeah. I love it from the standpoint of tracking. In writing, I love that I am, I do, because that lends itself to staying present, right? To what is, right? That current reality for yourself. So one of the biggest things that I did, in addition to that practice, was doing kind of weekly check-ins at the end of my week, and kind of grading myself.
Yeah.
And there was it was a report card, right? I had my weekly report card. And the first couple times I did it, I'm not even gonna lie, it freaked me out of how unproductive I was in my week.
Tell us a little bit, like, what did it actually look like? What did you write down?
Yeah, so I wrote down just simple questions of who did I impact? What was I trying to do? And was it worth it? And so one of the things, was it worth it, is on my board, and I keep it here. And particularly in this season of life, the reason why those simple 3 things is because it was a simple yes or no, or the action associated with it. And I know coaching say, no, close-ended questions. But for me, I needed to clarify my day. I couldn't escape whether I did something or not. And so at the end of that week, if I created an environment, a week, where 75% of my week was literally unproductive because I was answering those questions on a daily basis, and I was like, I'm not working on the right work. Me and you had this conversation before. And so the awareness and the understanding of, okay, what's the right work?
Right.
What have I said I wanted to do? And it's funny in that this season of life, I went back to my 6-month journal that my beautiful bride got me for Christmas, but she let me have it early so I could begin working on it, because she understood, top of 2020, I was bossing up full time in 2020. So she was like, hey, here's your gift early, because I know you're going to do some things. Well, I went back to those goals. And do you know, for January, I was good. I had a B. But then February, I saw the trend happening of I was beginning to violate some of my things, but I wasn't assessing the right work. And then when I got into March, I started pressing. And that pressing was causing me anxiety. And
pressing as in what? Explain that.
So I was pressing, trying to make stuff fit, because there was no refinement of my message, particularly around, am I working on the right work?
push.
Yeah. So everything, I was trying to hug everything. Everything, like I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm just starting this thing, so everything's mine. Everybody's available to me. Everybody's a client. But then everybody was like, no, not me, not today. And then this thing happened called COVID-19. And I was like, oh no, okay, this is cool because everybody's on pause at the same time, but the world's crazy. So all this stuff was happening, and I'm like, and then I was like, okay, I got to get intentional about finding my tribe again. And that was the biggest violation that I saw in my daily journal. It was like, I'm not connecting with the right community. And it was like, because my community, the way I communicate, my people, like Ann is on here, and I got Nichelle logged in, and also I got my people that can call me out, that have permission to call spades. And then the new additions, like you, sister from another mister, that you now have the ability, like, stop, pause. Right. Breathe. Is that a real thing? Right. And so for me, that was when I did that work, I'm my first coaching client. I'm talking about bawling my eyes out. I didn't tell my wife that, but I just told everybody in the world on LinkedIn. I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, I felt like such a scrub. And I was like, Lawrence, you didn't make it true. And I'm like, but it's okay. Grace, let's back it off. You can start anew, build community, and then, man, beautiful things happen.
Absolutely. You really became a lot more aware, and you physically recorded it so you could check it. That takes a lot of guts. That takes a lot of willingness. I mean, you do the work. There's no question, Lawrence. Is it the right work? Are these my right people? Like, narrow in your vision of what that is. And for the record, this isn't a judgment that other people aren't good enough. It's that there are almost 8 billion people on this planet, and you find your group, your right people. You and I both use that term, Lawrence, and in our coaching, in our workshops, in all those endeavors, like, you've got to have your right people, and you've got to raise your awareness flags. Like, are those my right people? And if they're not, give yourself the permission to let them go. Wish them well, send them off with love, pat them on the butt, and get them out the door. Like, you got stuff to do, and you need to be aware of. I love those 3 questions. Tell us again those three things. Who was I connecting with?
Who was I connecting with? My big one, was it worth it? And who did I impact?
Yeah. Because when you put those, that's a great ringer. I'm going to use that. Yeah. When you put the ingredients through that kind of check-in, that really helps you. And man, not just a clarifier. I got to believe that was pretty damn liberating, Lawrence.
Oh, it would. I mean, you have no idea. I mean, well, you actually do have an idea because you're on the call with me today. It was really clarifying from the standpoint of the filter I began to use, because it was, and again, no indictment to anybody else, just understanding what was right for me, right? And it's just like the foods we eat. It's just like anything else. I'm old enough, big enough, strong enough now. You're not going to make me sit at a table and just eat whatever you cook me. No, I got to say so in this thing. And so I say, I know what's healthy for me and the types of people that I need to help me be productive and hold me accountable. I'm saying I am vulnerable enough and courageous enough to say I need help. And I know what type of people I need to be around. I don't need fans. We got enough of that on social media. I don't need fans. I need people who are going to help me be enlightened, be inspired, be encouraged, feel purposeful every single day of my life, to where now I wake up, I roll out of bed, I sleep well. Why? Because everything that I do an entire day, I scheduled. And it's with people that I care about. And I love their mission and I love their visions.
You're so right. That's a big awareness. So we're getting close to the end of the half hour. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with a summary and a call to action, Lawrence. We're talking.
Ginger, you went out. Okay, start over.
Starts with yourself.
Okay, got it.
Starts with yourself, and then you build into a team. Finding your right people takes conscious awareness. This can't just be some subconscious crocodile underneath the water. This has got to be something that's up and looking around. So that's where we're going today. That's the lesson we want to give today. Lawrence, give everybody one call to action to take away and to work into their life today on awareness.
Yeah. So I would say the first next step is what are you willing to do to get into awareness? What activity, right? We listed a bunch of things that we personally do, that we help clients with, but what's that first next step for yourself? Because at the end of the day, stop with the multitasking, and you're not good at it. You're not good at it. So I'm just calling you out. You could argue with me all day, but there's actually research now. Anyway, so the first next step that you're willing to take to move yourself towards awareness and seeing connection and relationship differently, right? I know I added an and in there, right? So take on first next step as it pertains to how am I going to get better of understanding where I'm at, and then what's true for me. And then again, what am I aware about? The types of people I like to connect to. I would say, and also in that, there's an exercise that I love. And we have Nikki on here now. Nikki, there was a organization called Culture Lab local to Atlanta. And we did this exercise where we listed, and me and you did it, the top 10 people that you trust, right? When you list the top 10 people that you trust, what's the makeup and dynamic of that group? And then here's the courageous part of it, the vulnerable part. Are those relationships helping you or hurting you? And so that's my assignment for people. First next steps is evaluating your community, and then what's one thing you're willing to do differently today.
Love it. Love it. Let's pile on some power to that, because we want to both give a piece of the lesson that makes a congruous whole for you until we see you next week, until we see you next time. So building on Lawrence's, the willingness, it is such a key trait and practice muscle of connectors. You've got to be what I call POW, positive, objective, and willing. Willingness probably trumps all of it, because just like when you were a soldier, just like when I go out and do my thing, like we're all in our own, I won't even say battlefield, but we're all in our own exercise of life. So consciously check your positivity. Are you paying attention to that? Am I in a positive state of mind? Are you objective? Are you suspending judgment? Your exercise of the 10 people is a fantastic one, because we're going to want to put some people in there, but is that the truth? Are those really the people? Taking a good look at that. And willingness is the best guide you can have. Like, am I willing to acknowledge this? This might be uncomfortable, folks. I remember the first time I tried to list off the top 5 people in my life a few years ago when I was at a huge energetic growth event, and like, oh, well, I got loads of friends. That's not the same thing. So be willing to look within as you look without. Do the 10 people exercise. Really let that settle in and take that in. Yeah, that's plenty.
Yeah, we loaded them up today, and high octane, impactful 28 minutes. And so, Ginger, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me.
Thank you for your partner in crime. This is the
my God.
Stuff.
Yeah, this is, and so for everybody out there who thinks people just come and begin to know, like, and trust each other enough to begin just doing this, y'all think this is whimsical and we just so happen to call each other and say, hey, you want to jump on a live? No, this started at the end of May, and you may, man, that's even quick. But the authenticity in which we came into that first discussion, and then all of the conversations after, there was an agreement that we made between each other that, hey, if something happens, something occurs, you better call me out. And somebody like me, I wasn't used to getting permission. I was used to giving it. And so, because again, it can be a lot for people in new relationships. You're like, oh my God, I said I trust you, but I really don't. But the fact that we gave each other permission early, and then it was almost like, I dare you to tell me the truth. And it was like, okay, Here you go. Right. And that's what caused us to get to this point so fast.
Right.
Because again, we blew the smoke out, turned the fans on.
Right.
There was no smoke and mirrors. It was like, hey, you get what you get. Here's who I am, and let's go after it. So thank you so much for being the human being that you are. And what you bring to the world is so exciting. So really quick, tell them about the ABCs, because I want them to hear it again. What's going to be happening over the next several weeks, months, all that good stuff.
Yes. So first of all, join us every Tuesday at this time on LinkedIn Live. You can watch the replay, of course, although the impact is in the liveness. So participate, ask questions, give your comments. The ABCs is the Academy of Boss Connectors. And just like Lawrence has given me so much respect and love, I am giving it back to him too. And we hatched this fantastic academy. And that's what it is. If an academy gives the feeling of excellence, of pursuing something that's worthwhile, of meaning, of longevity, of purpose, of service. So the Academy of Boss Connectors is coming your way this fall. We want to make sure that the academy walls are sturdy and really solid to start. We're not going for perfect, we're going for participation. So when you are ready to become an academy member, you can contact Lawrence, you can contact me. We will get you into building our right people for the academy. What is the academy about? The academy is about building yourself as a boss, meaning you are in command of your life. You are the boss of your life, and everything in your life is related to who you are first. So we will coach, support, teach all y'all who want to be part of that academy. Boss Connectors, of course, it combines the best of both of our worlds. Lawrence is the expert on being that boss and really compassionately looking at yourself, pushing yourself to grow, being aware. I'm a human connection expert, so I love to look at, well, where does that come from, and how does that manifest in building your community and so forth. And so if you are interested in the Academy of Boss Connectors, we'll share a little bit each time. We will have more coming up, but really think about the investment of yourself. It's never a spend. It's always an investment if you're an academy member, because if you're going to be the boss of your life, you need to lay it down: time, energy, finances, attention, intent to get to where you want to be. We would love to have you be part of the ABCs, the Academy of Boss Connectors. In the meantime, tune in again next week. Lawrence, you're the bomb, brother. I adore you and love you, and I love this partnership, this cooperation we have together, because we are stronger together, better.
Amen and amen.
All right.
That's the awkward plate.
Next week.